All right, everybody, welcome in. We're ready for another deep dive into the biggest stories of the day. And man, today, December 10th, 2024, did not disappoint.
Definitely not. I mean, we've got murder, court cases, international power shifts, even quantum computing making headlines. Feels like we're covering it all.
We might just cover it all. You never know. But seriously, today is wild, and I'm glad you're here to break it down with me. Where do we even begin?
Let's start with something that really caught my eye. This whole thing with the UnitedHealthcare CEO, it's got so many layers.
Yeah, you're talking about Luigi Mangione, the former Ivy League student arrested for the murder.
Exactly. On its surface, you think, okay, a murder, those are sadly not unheard of. But then the details start coming out.
Like the manifesto they found. That's what really sends chills down my spine. What could possibly drive someone to that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? And I think it ties into a lot of what we've been discussing lately about the state of healthcare, the rising costs, the public anger directed at insurance companies.
Yeah, a lot of the articles you sent my way this past week have highlighted that frustration. People feel trapped, like the system is rigged against them.
And those feelings, that sense of helplessness, it can be powerful, even dangerous in some cases. So when you add a manifesto to the mix, you have to wonder, is this personal or is this a statement?
And if it is a statement, what kind of statement is it making? That's what I find unsettling. Is this the start of something bigger or something more widespread?
It's possible, and it's something we need to pay close attention to. Will this case become a flashpoint, a symbol for people to rally around, whether their grievances are justified or not? We have to consider that.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, too, about the impact on the healthcare industry as a whole. Will this lead to heightened security measures? Will CEOs become even more isolated from the public?
It's hard to say, but those are definitely questions worth asking. But speaking of complex cases with ripple effects, we have to talk about the Daniel Penny verdict.
Oh yeah, the former Marine involved in the death of Jordan Neely on the subway. That one was tough to follow, so many perspectives.
It really was, and with the not guilty verdict, well, that's going to spark a lot of debate about self-defense laws in this country.
Because it seemed like such a gray area, right?
Yeah.
We read about how Penny's defense team successfully argued that he acted reasonably to subdue Neely, who was acting erratically.
Right, and that argument resonated with the jury. But at the same time, some of the articles you sent pointed out that other passengers on that subway car didn't feel physically threatened by Neely.
Which complicates things, like where do you draw the line? When does reasonable become excessive? And how much does implicit bias play into those split-second decisions?
And that's where this verdict becomes so pivotal. It forces us to confront these questions head-on, especially in situations where mental health and homelessness are factors. There are no easy answers here.
Definitely not. It's a reminder that sometimes the legal outcome doesn't provide closure. It just opens up a whole new set of challenges for society to grapple with.
100%. But shifting gears now, let's look at what's happening overseas in Syria. The news of the Assad government's collapse, that's huge.
It's a seismic shift after years of conflict, but from what I've been reading, it doesn't necessarily mean peace is on the horizon.
No, not at all. In fact, this power vacuum is potentially even more dangerous because of who's stepping in. Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, a former al-Qaeda commander.
Yeah, some of the initial reports were optimistic, like maybe this change in leadership could be what the Syrian people need after so much suffering.
Right, but then you realize Jawlani's history, his ideology, and it throws a huge wrench into everything.
Yeah.
The articles you sent painted a pretty grim picture of what his rule could look like.
Like trading one oppressive regime for another, with maybe even more instability and violence. And what does that mean for the surrounding region, for international relations? It's a powder keg.
And it highlights how interconnected the world truly is. What happens in Syria doesn't stay confined to Syria. The ripples will be felt far and wide.
Absolutely. And speaking of ripples felt far and wide, did you see what's happening in the world of technology? Google made a major breakthrough with their quantum computer, the Willow chip.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. It solved a complex calculation in minutes, something a regular supercomputer would take, well, basically forever to do.
And I remember last year we talked about another quantum computing advancement, but this seems like a whole other level.
It is. Think of it like this. Last year was like taking baby steps, and this is like sprinting ahead at lightning speed. The potential here is mind-boggling.
But I know you're really passionate about renewable energy. Could this quantum leap actually have practical applications in that field?
It very well could. One of the main things quantum computing excels at is analyzing and designing new materials. Imagine applying that to solar panels, making them more efficient, cheaper to produce.
So we could see a direct impact on something as tangible as our energy bills. That's incredible. From something so complex and theoretical to something we interact with every day.
And that's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it? Connecting the dots, seeing how seemingly unrelated events are all part of this intricate web we call reality.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. From murder and legal battles to international politics and mind-blowing tech, it's been a whirlwind.
It has. But it's a reminder that staying informed is crucial, even when the news feels overwhelming. The more we understand these complexities, the more equipped we are to navigate them to make a difference.
Couldn't agree more. And
Hmm.
to our listeners, keep those questions coming, keep those conversations going, because the world needs more people who are willing to dive deep and make sense of it all.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. So until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions.
We'll see you all back here for our next deep dive. Until then, take care.
See you then.